going to tell you all about my consult with Hannah from Physique last week and what I found out about kind of where I'm at with hormones. Oh my god, I feel like I look like such a friggin' nun. I got my hair done, guys. I don't know if you're watching this on YouTube, which I think I will actually put this up on YouTube. I keep saying we'll put it up on YouTube. I know you guys aren't seeing it right now. But this week's episode, as I said, is going to get into basis. First of all, I just want to say
I'm so glad
thank you so much if you are returning. Thank you if you're new. Welcome.
Being
all that
this
jazz.
presence.
Feel like
I'm
I
glad,
literally
okay?
listen to way too many
Getting
podcasts
into this
now, and
week's
I'm robbing their
episode,
lines.
I'm actually going to talk about
phases,
but
because
if
I
you
think
have not already,
if you are new here, or if you're returning and you haven't done this yet, please do.
Get into
Hit
why
like,
in a
hit
second.
subscribe,
I'll talk
rate
to
me
you all
5
about my
stars,
week,
and
but that is going to
please,
be the
share it to
topic
your story
of this
or
week's
share it with your
episode.
best friend, please. And if you really love it, share it to your stories. But otherwise, let's get chatting into last week. And this week, obviously I announced last week that I'm a full-time online coach, which is crazy, but it's also felt quite nice. I'm not gonna pretend it hasn't felt a bit weird, because like generally I'd get all my work done in kind of the first 3 hours, the last 3 hours, and then scramble for the middle like 8 hours of like my other job. And now I'm a bit like, whoa, there's so much time, and like what do I do? But like obviously it's time that I can actually give back, and I've really decorated my calendar. It looks fucking lovely. So I can do all of that stuff. Like even I went trained during the day today, which meant I had time to do this on a Tuesday evening rather than like panicking. So like it's felt nice, but it has felt a little bit weird of being like, whoa, like it just felt overwhelming. But I'm also trying to remember that I don't actually have to start working out at like 6 a.m. and I don't have to stay working until 8 p.m. I'm saying that as it's now 25 to 8 on Tuesday evening, but I've already trained, so it's a little bit better, you know what I mean? But did I get up to anything crazy or mad last week? The only thing I did get up to was I went out to the races on Sunday, which I filled you guys all in on my YouTube. If you're not following or subscribed to my YouTube, this is my rage bait or my clickbait, I don't know, to get back in and follow, subscribe on that. But other than that, I haven't really done anything. Gotta go back through the photos and see what's been happening. But yeah, that's it. I just went out on Sundays to the races, and that was for Breast Cancer Ireland. And girls, I actually won something. Like I never ever win a raffle or anything like that, and I won a raffle. So I felt like my lucky stars aligned that day, and I got a stay at the Mercure Hotel in Dublin, which is class. So yeah, so that's what I won. But on Friday, right, this is the highlight, I suppose, or even the low light, should I say, of my week. Because I finally had a consultation call with Hannah from Physique. Well, I say finally, like we only asked about there like a week ago. But I had a consult call, and it's like the first time I've ever actually gotten answers on my whole hormone thing, which is amazing. But the answers obviously were like not like they're perfect, which I think in my head I'd like built them up to be this like thing of it was just going to be okay and it was going to be a quick fix once someone had the answer, which obviously was never going to be the case now looking back, because like if it was as easy as that, it would have been fixed. But anyway, she has given me stuff to work with, so she thinks that like part of it is leaky gut, where basically some of my gut lining has kind of become like permeable, and like basically food is being swallowed up in my gut and in my bloodstream rather than just staying in my gut. And this can actually happen when you've been on the pill for a long time. Another side effect of the pill, great. But I've already been trying to fix that because we kind of expected that might be the case. Then another thing was the fact that I have the copper coil, which this is actually kind of hilarious, because I got the copper coil so that I could obviously go non-hormonal. But because I have an autoimmune condition, because I have Hashimoto's, the copper is actually depleting my zinc. So I think I'm going to get the copper coil removed. However, I did say on the YouTube anyways, I was thinking of doing that before I had the call with her for other reasons. So like that's actually not too bad. And then the third one, so basically there has been mold in my house before. And like I live in Dublin, I live on the river, so like that's not crazy, right? There has been mold in my house, but there is something called the like HLA1 gene, where 25% of people can't actually detox mold out of their body themselves. And she thinks that I may have that. Right now my body's like intaking or has this mold in it that's not letting me like actually detox that out because of this gene I have, which is then causing my Hashimoto's to be even worse. And the only thing I can really do with that now, I have to take 2 tests for that, which one is a mycotoxin test. It's a problem for when I figure out if it's 100% sure, because I don't want to say that it's 100% sure if it's not. You know what I'm saying? But that has basically been the start of my weekend, right? That's basically been really all I've been doing, because Other than that, you guys already know I'm in a gaining phase, so like not much has changed from that front. I had quite bad appetite like the last few weeks, so I've been struggling to eat. So we just kind of held things the same, to be honest. And also we're like waiting for this to be cleared, because realistically with an autoimmune condition, it's just, this is where I started spiraling, right? That was on Friday. I was like, amazing, I've got answers, and then I just started spiraling, because with an autoimmune condition, your metabolism is obviously, you find it harder to lose weight, right? And then I'm in my head like, well, why am I actively trying to gain weight if I'm going to find it very hard to lose weight and all this? But like, I know I will get this cleared. Like, I'm telling myself I will get this cleared. But at the same time, like, your brain is obviously going to be like, oh, this is so much of an easier option. But I need to remember that I've never ever chosen the easy option in my life, and this is not going to be one of them. But at the same time, in my head, this is me going through this whole cycle again. At the same time, in my head, I was competing May 2027, latest September 2027, because I didn't feel ready. Now that's been pushed back again, because if I do have mold in my body, if that is something I have to figure out, then that's a whole added process. Even if I don't, it's still a process to get this all back in order. But at the same time, the time is going to pass anyways. It's just annoying, because when you have things mapped out in your head and you have like a timeline in your head and everything gets pushed back and you just feel like you're doing it for nothing, it's frustrating, right? It's frustrating. But I need to remember that the time is going to pass anyways. I'm not doing this for the sake of a competition. I'm doing this because I love it. Prep is just one part of it. And I still like building muscle regardless. And I still like the whole process regardless. So it doesn't matter. And I need to remember that I'm doing this to enjoy it, not to compete. And that is what I want this whole episode to be about, because I do feel that a lot of people, not just competitors, not just girls in prep, not just girls doing photo shoots, but a lot of people decide their phases or decide what they're doing based off how they're feeling, based off what they think they can achieve, based off what they kind of feel that their upward driver is, rather than based off what they are actually capable of, or their bigger goals, or more importantly, what they actually enjoy day to day or week to week. So that's what I want to go into here. God, I actually feel like I keep catching myself in the camera and I'm looking crazy. But anyways, it's fine. Okay? Because this is basically what I want to talk about, right? And it's something that I do see all the time with people online, with girls in general, with women dieting, women building, and I especially see it with, oh, I'm gonna say it, I especially see it with influencers, like where they just cannot commit to a phase, they can't decide what they actually want. And I understand it from an influencer perspective, because I'm like, right, fair enough, they have to always look good, but it means that they're never actually going to progress their physique, right? And so many people look at them and are like, oh, I want to look like them, but then when you look at them, they look the same year on year, and it's not really how you want to look, because like, they just know their angles, they know their lighting. Are they actually in good shape is a different question. I don't know. But in my opinion, I love progress, I love getting better, I love improvement. So obviously that's not going to be my aim. Of course there will be a time where I'm like, yeah, I'm happy, but like, I don't see it happening for a long time. Like, I'm happy with my physique now, but I always want more. But I want more in every part of my life. You know what I mean? But maybe that's just because I like chasing progress. I don't know. But anyways, that's what I want to get into this episode. Your body, like, it doesn't need to be in panic. What it needs is a phase, and you need phased timelines to actually ensure that you get the result and the body you want. And that is what I want to chat about, especially coming into summer, especially because I'm building during summer. And as I said, I'm the most important person of this podcast. So let's get into it, okay? Because so many women, as I said, are not actually in a phase, they are just in a reaction state, right? Where the scales go up and you feel bloated, or they have a bad body image day, just like I had on Friday, where I then led me to change dresses fucking 3 times on Sunday and have a cry before I went out. And then ironically, I literally changed my dress from the first dress to the fourth dress was the same as the first dress, if you get me. I changed out twice and then changed back in. And that's been like, obviously, this is just external validation points, but that's been my like most like post or story on my Insta. That is fucking wild to me, because it was something that I literally cried over, being like, I feel like shit, I look like shit, and apparently I didn't. Well, not to you guys anyways. But yeah, where all of this shit happens, right? And then you decide to do a different phase, and that's not where we want to go. Okay, if you're having a meal out and you see someone leaner, or you try on jeans and they feel a bit tight, and then you suddenly decide, I need to pull my calories, I need to add more cardio, I need a new plan, I need to diet, I need to change coach, I need to change my training split, I need to start again on Monday, I need to do something, whatever it is that you feel you need to do because of one bad body image day or one bad scale reading, then this episode is for you, okay? Because when your body does not feel how you wanted it to, it is very hard to stay logical, and it's hard to wake up, because when you feel watery, you feel heavy, you feel inflamed or like tired or emotional, whatever it is, it's very hard to pull back and look at that full picture. And most people don't do that. Most people can't do that, okay? Most people go straight into panic. And that is why we have coaches. And I'm not just saying this as a coach. I always feel like when I'm in a consultation and stuff, people are like, oh, like blah, 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 I need a coach and I just feel bad. And like people have actually said to me, like, I need a coach, and it feels bad that I can't be like that person that doesn't need a coach. Where are they? Where are those people? That's all I'm gonna say. Like, I have a coach. I would say that I'm pretty elite, to be honest, and I still have a coach. Could I do things on my own self? Yeah. Would I make half the amount of progress I want to make? Probably not. Like, having someone that's better than you, having someone that's been where you are, is crucial to making progress and getting to a place you've never got. There's no shame in that, girl. Like, I would fully lose my head half the time I'm in a gaining phase or in a dieting phase if I didn't have a coach. That's why I have a coach. I am a coach. I have the knowledge and I still have a coach. So yeah, that's your sign to be coached. But yeah, all of this panic, it's not helpful, right? When you panic like that, okay? And that is why it's important to have a coach, right? Because I've been there, and I've been the girl who has bad body image days, just like I was on Sunday, and I suddenly think that I need to go and cry like I did on Sunday. But I've also been that girl who doesn't actually have any sort of phase and doesn't know where they're going and wants to go somewhere but doesn't know how to build it and doesn't want to feel uncomfortable, but also like feels not comfortable. And that's a harder place to be than having a few bad body image days, knowing you're getting to a structured goal. Right? Right. So first up, let's get into the physical side of this shit, okay? First of all, your body is not meant to look like the way it is meant to look every single day. Your body's not meant to look the same as it does every single day. And look, we both know that, right? But we probably don't both act like it, okay? And I can put my hands up and say that I don't always act like this, right? Because although I know that my body isn't going to look the same every day, although I know that my scales is going to be up or down each day and it's going to be a difference, and I understand that from a logical point of view and a coach point of view, and I always try to wear my coach cap when I'm looking at that scales. But when my own weight fluctuates, all of that logic is leaving the chat, right? All of that logic is out of my brain. And of course, like, I'll tell my clients, and of course I'll tell myself it's water retention or it's this, and I'll reason it in my head. I'll be like, okay, right, blah blah blah, here's what I must have done. But of course, automatically you're thinking, oh my God, have I done something wrong? Have I done something that is off plan? Have I done something? Like, you start to nearly put these things in your head that you know you haven't done, but it's like, wait, could I have done something wrong, right? But I think this is where we need perspective on it, because your body is literally not just fat tissue. Whether you're in a gaining phase or whether you're in a dieting phase, your scale weight isn't just going to hold body fat, right? Your scale weight literally has everything that you've had in it: your water, your food volume, your like carbs, your muscle, your like whatever you've digested, if there's any inflammation held, if there's any extra salt that you had yesterday. That is literally how crucial it is, girls. Like, if you had an extra salty meal, and that doesn't just include table salts, if you were like processed meal, whatever you got, if your fit food has more salt in it than whatever other meal you had the day before, right? Your hydration, how many liters you finished it, what time they were finished at, anywhere you are in your cycle. And I know this is primarily girls listening to this, so like, where are you in your cycle? You know, your stress, if there is any stress, if you're sore with training, if you have anything like that, right? All of these things can lead you to being up 1 to 2 kg heavier. And that 1 to 2 kg can be like, whoa, and like, let's not lie, most of the time it's not even a kg or 2 kg there. Like, when you wake up 1 kg heavier, it doesn't mean you've gained 1 kg of fat. And I know everyone always talks about this, but like, to gain a pound of fat, something like 7,700 calories you have to eat over your maintenance. That is like a lot of Domino's pizza. Okay, you got to be eating like 3 Domino's pizzas on top of your normal food for you to gain that weight. You know what I mean? Like, you're safe, right? It's not fat, but it can mean that you train very hard. It can mean that you ate more carbs. It can mean all of these things that I've just gone through. And although that sounds so obvious from like when I'm saying it, and I know when I say it to the girls, they're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. But like, even still, I understand that it can be hard to be like, wait, this must be what it is, because it can look different in the mirror. And especially when you have that scale reading as well, you know, when you like go to the scales and you're like, you're waiting for it, right? You're like hoping that's going to be down, and it's not down. And then you go look in the mirror and you're like, oh, yeah, I feel fat. And like, there is sometimes that you could look in the mirror first and be like, I look great today. And then you go see that scales and you're like, oh, I must not look great at all. And you know that's true, okay? You know that's true. We both know that's true. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you've actually gained weight or that you actually look any worse. It's just the scales reacting to literally whatever is in your body or what you've done the day before or the weekend before or whatever it was. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have gained weight, okay? But if you're constantly changing your plan based off that scale reading rather than basing it off your actual pictures and your progress and your timelines, you're never ever going to build a body that. Side note as well, what I do want to say on this is that your scale weight, the scale weight that you want, is probably not the scale weight that has the body that you want. Caveating, because I have been like 52 kg and I've been 60 kg, and I promise you that more girls come up to me and are like, I want to look like you when I'm 60 kg than when I'm 52 kg. Just saying, because when I'm 52 kg, I look bulky, if you get with me. Like, I have way too much muscle, right? But when I'm 60 kg, girls are like, oh yeah, she looks toned. Yeah, no, like you are, the scale weight you want has nothing to do with the body you want. That is one thing I'll say. Another thing, and I've talked about this with one of my clients last week, is that if it's, let's say, for an event, right? If you're thinking, oh right, I want to get down to scale weight, like for one of my girls, she was like, I really want to get to the scale weight for my wedding. And I was like, okay. I was like, are you looking for a scale weight or are you looking for like a physique? And she's like, defo a physique. I'm like, okay, because like, just to be real, you're not gonna have your scales at your wedding, are you? She was like, no, absolutely not. And I was like, okay, cool. So we're using the mirror on the day of our wedding, so we don't actually know what our scale weight is. We're looking for an image. And she was like, mic drop, Kiva. She was like, this is why I'm coached by you. No, but in all honesty, like, think of it like that, because realistically, if it's for your birthday or holiday, are you gonna have those scales on holiday? Are you gonna be able to check in every day and be like, all right, or are you gonna look in the mirror and be like, I'm actually pretty proud of this. I worked really hard and I look really fucking good. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Okay, now let's talk about the psychological side of it though, right? Because your body can change also for like physiological reasons, right? And your mind can interpret that as like, oh shit, like it, and this is where like the psychological spiral starts, right? Because physically you may be having water retention, especially when you're just starting to plan, right? But psychologically, your brain is like, we're failing. And when you step on the scales and it's up, physically it can be all of these things, but psychologically your brain is going, we're going backwards. And I think this will happen to me last weekend as well, because I was like, oh my god, I'm not getting any muscle, my weights are dipping. Side note again, apparently energy crashes and like muscle, like basically energy dips and all is all symptoms of like Hashimoto's, or like, you know, things that happen because of Hashimoto's. But I'm also trying to knock it in my head that this is like Hashimoto's playing on me, because I'm like, I'm not letting this win, basically. But that just all got in my head, and then I was like, oh my god, and I'm like the heaviest I've been since starting the gym. This is crazy. Now that scale weight's gone back down, but that's what I thought initially. That is literally me in motion. This is what happened last Saturday, because I seen 64 on the scales, and I've not been 64 kg since like literally March 2022. And in my head, I was like, oh my god. And then I was like, chill, Kiva, it's going back down the next day. Which is crazy, because like my weight right now is 62 and a half, and I have no problem with 62 and a half. But seeing that 64, I was like, what the fuck? But it's chill. It's gone back down. I don't know what happened there. It was just a weird reading. I think I was just stressed. Maybe it wasn't even 64. Maybe I just imagined that. Who knows? But yeah, psychologically, your brain starts to tell you you're failing just because of all these things that are happening physically. And you're then thinking, oh, fuck, like, what have I done, right? And you are attaching that weight issue to your body. And this is where you start to live in panic, because suddenly you think, oh my god, this weight is like, looks really heavy. This weight looks like there's fat on me. This weight means blah blah blah. Like, and the weight mightn't even look any different on you. Your photos could look the exact same week to week. They could even look better at a heavier weight. But automatically you're thinking, because I'm up, it must mean I look worse. Yeah. Yeah, I'm reading your mind. I know. You're allowing your like food phases then to focus on these things, right? But where you have to learn to separate this is what is actually happening physically and what am I making it mean psychologically? Because these are not the same thing, right? If physically, as I said, your body can look very different to psychologically how you're perceiving that looks. And all of these two things, physical and psychological perspectives, are why you, girl, you need a phase. You need to get out of this mindset of just doing what you want, focusing just on the mirror, and you, my girl, need a phase, right? And this is where phases come in, and why I am so big on them, and why in excellence we make sure everyone has one, right? Because when you know what phase you're in, you stop treating every normal body change like a friggin' emergency. A diet phase has a job. The job is fat loss. A build phase has a job. The job is muscle growth. The job is performance. The job is building tissue, shape, strength, building the body. A maintenance phase has a job. The job is stability. It's holding that result. It's recovery. It's routine. It's digestion improving. It's training quality, and it's letting your body actually settle. Recovery phase or reverse has a job. It's health. It's getting your hormones back. It's sleep, digestion, appetite regulation, nervous system regulation, and getting your body back to a place where it can respond again, right? A prep phase has a job. It's to get into condition, photo shoot condition, with a specific timeline and a specific standard, right? Crazy girl, okay? And every phase has a job though. And the issue is most women try to do every job in every phase, which is where things get messy, right? You want to build muscle while seeing your scale drop. You want to diet, but don't want hunger or structure. You want to maintain, but you feel like stability means nothing is happening. And I'm not even lying. I know all of this shit because I was here. And I know this shit because this is where you end up with no progress. This is where you end up just being the same for the year, right? Because you haven't actually committed to anything properly, right? It's the same as like in school or in college or in work, just wanting to get everything done in one time. A jack of all trades is a master of none, girl. And all you need to be on is a master of each one for a certain amount of time, and then move the fuck on and get better at them year on year, right? If you're wanting to recover your hormones, improve your hormones, or improve any of that, and still wanting fat loss, they are competing interests. And competing interests mean no results. And that is not what we want, right? You want a physique that looks trained, but you still don't want to eat or train like someone that actually is training for a better physique. You're eating and training to be smaller, and yet you want to get bigger. It's not going to work, right? And it's where you need to be honest with yourself, because it's not like, oh yeah, I can just accidentally make this happen. Look at all the bodybuilders who are trying to get wham and still struggling. Like, girls, I would say you look at me in the mirror right now, like in my gaining phase, and okay, fair, you're probably like, she looks good. I'm like, I look good most days. But like at the same time, you're probably like, she doesn't look like huge, right? You're like, she looks normal girl. And I've been trying for many years to get one. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you try really, really hard, you'll probably end up with the body you want. That's all I'm saying, right? And if you want an elite physique, you need to know the job of the phase you're in. Because if you don't know the phase, you misread your feedback and you end up panicking when there's no need to panic. Like when you're in a build phase and the scales goes up, good. When you're in a dieting phase and your body composition is getting better, good. But you should be hungry as well, you know? These things are normal in all of these phases. But what's happening is you're only doing one phase, but wanting to fit everything into this one phase. And that is why you need to know the phase that you're in before you judge the progress that you've made in that phase, right? Because you might not actually be failing. You might just be judging it on different standards than what's required. And that's not fair to you. And that's not fair to the phase, okay? And we prioritize our phases and we protect our phases and we make sure that our phases are, what's the word? Respected, girl. Respected. We respect the phase. Give the phase its actual job and execute it properly. And I'm actually going to touch on like hormones a little bit as well, because I know that this is something that I've thought about a lot in my own process, obviously with the last number of weeks, but also I know something that like always comes up in my messages and stuff as well, of people being like, oh, like because of this or because of my hormones or because of this. And it's like, okay, right, is it actually because of your hormones, or are you just not actually executing what you're supposed to be executing and doing what you say you're doing, right? And especially, again, as I've said, like I have Hashimoto's. That's chill. I've had Hashimoto's for a while. I've just not known about it. And it would probably be easy for me to be like, oh, I have Hashimoto's, so I can't do X, Y, or Z, or I'm never going to lose the weight, or that's why I'm puffy, that's why I'm inflamed, that's why blah, 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 that's why I blow energy. And look, I'm not going to say that other people aren't experiencing that, because I know that there are people that are experiencing that and are really, really struggling. But at the same time, right, you can still get your basics nailed, and you can also still know that health isn't just to lose weight, because I think that that's a lot of the reason people are like, oh, I'd love to look like that, but like, you don't understand, I have this or I have that. But like, they're still eating fucking 6 croissants, right? And you're still eating, like, you're still barely walking or barely getting steps. You're not even trying, right? And I know that sounds really bad. I know I'm being mean, but if you are eating a fuck ton of pastries and not trying at all, then you cannot be like, oh, but my hormones aren't letting me lose weight. That's normal. Like, that's regardless of your hormones, you're not going to lose weight. You know, you need to stop making excuses for that sense. Like, you need to stop allowing your things to control you and using hormones as a get out of jail free card, because yes, while not irrelevant to a fat loss phase, they're still being able to, you can still manage them. You can still make them be included in the whole phase and actually try to improve them, whether it be naturally or medication wise, and actually still make insane progress. Like, girls, I've still made progress, even though I have Hashimoto's, right? And yes, it can be harder. Not for me personally. Well, it hasn't been proven too difficult. Although at the same time, it probably would be a lot better had I actually had functioning hormones. But anyways, I don't know that. But rather than being like, oh, I will, I'm using this as an excuse, you can absolutely still get results. It's just going to be a bit of an extra push. And at the same time, you can still, being healthy is still a result, right? It doesn't all have to be around fat loss. That's what I'm going to say there. You need. I'm going to get into builds, right? Because I think builds is where people struggle the most. But you need to be staying long enough to let the process actually work. And that is hard, right? And it's not always sexy. And I feel like that's where people start to lose it. Like, I see so many girls online being like, I'm dieting, I'm entering diet. Oh, I feel bad saying this because I did it this year. But I'm dieting, I blah, blah, blah. And then 6 weeks later, nothing. They're out of a diet, they're chasing something else, or they're doing a high rocks or whatever it is. I know I gave up my diet, girls, but that was a different reason. That was my health. But in general, we know that I can stick to shit, right? Like, I've been gaining for a long time. I fucking did a prep and a photo shoot prep and everything like that. So we know that I'm not a bitch, okay? But I do see plenty of people be bitches. And you know that that's true too. And you know that we're not talking about me, right? But building requires a different level of identity, right? Because I think that's where people get it hard. That's where people find this really hard, right? And it's especially true for like true proper build phases, because I do not think enough women understand how psychologically hard building is, right? And everyone talks about building, like, eat more and grow, eat more and grow. That's fucking lovely, isn't it? But for any girl that spent years trying to be smaller, eating more can feel terrifying. Not just physically, but like psychologically, right? You're watching the scale go up and you're doing it properly. And feeling softer, not having any sort of like lines or muscle showing, it can feel fucking terrifying because you feel too normal, right? Especially as someone that fucking puts their Instagram puts their everything on Instagram, okay? When you start like fitting clothes differently and you have to get bigger clothes and you don't feel as lean. And that is why so many girls cut their build phase short, right? And that is why so many girls say they want glutes and they want shoulders and they want the shape and everything like that. And they want to look fucking amazing and they want to look like they train, but they're terrified of the process that actually gets that body. And that is where you're going to get stuck, right? Because that is where you need to be honest with yourself. You will not build bigger glutes while still trying to stay small at all costs, right? You will not grow your body without enough food, right? If your food isn't aligned and your phase keeps getting interrupted by every bad body image day, then your identity shift needs to happen. You need to realize that building is not just physical. It's not just more carbs. It's not just more calories. It's not just more weight in the bar. It is becoming the girl, the woman who can literally handle more. It's becoming the woman who can handle more food, more strength, more structure, more patience, more discomfort, more long-term thinking, more phases, right? More trust in herself, experience or like happiness beyond what her body image looks like all the time, knowing that it is, what's the word, long-term gratification. It's delayed gratification, not this short-term quick fixes, right? Because your goal shouldn't just be to build glutes. Your goal is to become the girl who can stay in a build phase long enough to actually build them. That's the hard work, and that's where so many people are failing, right? Because the body changes when you start actually operating at a level that requires that build to happen. That's where you become the woman that you want to become, the confident girl that has the glutes, that's delighted, right? Without that, you are just going to be you're actually making your process longer without realizing it, because what you're doing is making what could have been a 1 year growth phase into 5 spread out years because you're afraid to do it just fucking hard, right? And that's not the girl that you should be. Okay, I don't even know how long I've been talking about this for, but I'm gonna go into a few client examples because I had some client examples come up this week. But one girl, right, I had this week came into her check-in after she's had a few rough weeks, right? She's gone through a lot in her personal life, and then she was traveling home there for the weekend, and she's also had a sinus cold for like the last 2 weeks. So she's had no appetite and she's barely had any taste, and her tracking has slipped, right? Because she came home for the weekend. She doesn't live at home. She wanted to spend time with her family. She's gone through a lot in her personal life. Her calories hadn't been hit because her appetite was quite low. And girls, this kind of sounds like me. But anyways, I promise it's a client. And on paper, right, you can look at that thinking like, oh fuck, like she's had a rough patch, she's fallen off. But when you actually zoom out and look at the bigger picture, her physique was still like very much in a good place. And the reason for that is because she has had so many weeks stacked up together that are winning weeks, right? She has had so many weeks where she's gotten the training in, gotten the food in, and she's built herself up to a level that, well, to be honest, her physique, she could walk into a shoot tomorrow. But that is kind of what proper building does, right? That's what months of consistency do. And a few hard weeks will not erase that work because the foundation will already be built, right? So your solution then is not, okay, we need to compensate. It's right. She's already in a build phase. She's in a very lean position. The goal isn't to restrict. The goal is to increase your food, get that food back in, and just acknowledge that you've already done most of the work. Like you've already got to a position that you're in a really good position. I don't know why I've just gotten weird the fact that I have no shoes or socks on. But anyways, like you're already in a very good position. So when you can't, like when your appetite is low and stuff like that, when life's emotionally heavy and your nervous system is stressed, your hunger cues won't always be reliable. And what you need to remember is, okay, right, we still need to commit to our phase. So whether that's small changes that you need to do or whatever it is that you need to do to get back into your groove. And that is why having structure matters so much, right? Because like right now with her appetite isn't great. So we still need to hit your calories because we still have a phase to hit, right? So she knows, right? How like rather than being like, oh yeah, you just have to do what you have to, or being like, oh well, you don't feel that great and you're in a bit of a like sore spot, so why don't we just diet because you're barely eating anyways? No, how do we make what she's doing now realistic, right? We can look at lower volume, calorie dense options, putting in rice over her potatoes, honey, maple syrup, giving her more energy per bite so that, yes, while we're understanding that she is in an emotional state right now, we also understand her bigger goals that she wants to do a photo shoot, right? And she wants to look really good. So for that, she still needs to do a build. Now, obviously, she still wants to work towards her own personal goals. I'm not going to push someone into it, right? But like, she still obviously wants to work towards her own personal goals, even though she knows she's going through a rough spot right now. Like, she's still very much aware, right? So she's like, okay, right, I'm willing to do what it takes, although I don't feel the best right now. And not feeling the best right now means that I'm not really feeling like I have a great appetite. Right, okay, so what do? We just change up your food. That's what coaching is. It's working with you when you need it, right? And making sure that you are actually able to get your goals in whatever way feels best and right for you so that you can stay on your shit, right? And that is where coaching happens, but it's also where you have to understand that your phases are really important and should still work within your life cycle. Like for me, as I said, like obviously it wouldn't make any sense for me to go into a dieting phase right now, even though my appetite as well is quite low right now. Okay, I feel stressed, to be honest. Do feel like that client now that I've just actually laid her out, but I feel stressed. She's gone through a lot more worse than me. I feel stressed. I feel like my appetite is quite low. It would not make any sense for me to be like, okay, right now I'm just gonna go into a diet because that wouldn't help my health. That wouldn't help my hormones. So it's about remembering, okay, realizing what's your bigger picture. And yes, well, you have something micro going on right now. Okay, but do we need to get through this goal? And how are we gonna best manage your emotions and your microtisms to get over this goal? I don't know if that's how I can use microtisms, but you get my picture. You catch my drift, girl. And one thing that I also want to speak about as well with this is because I know it's quite prevalent right now. I don't know why I always feel like I lose English or lose brain cells when I do these. But anyways, post show and post diet in general, because I know a lot of people are doing photo shoots right now. I know a lot of my girls are doing photo shoots right now, and I also have a competitor and stuff like that. So I know that this is very much relatable, prevalent, and happening, right? So I want to speak about post show and post diet as well, because right now a lot of girls are finishing their seasons, a lot of women are finishing photo shoot preps, and a lot of girls are coming out of dieting phases and getting ready for summer, right? And this is one of the most psychologically vulnerable phases that you can be in, right? Because during a prep or a diet, everything has a clear purpose. Your food, your cardio, your steps, training, posing, everything like that, right? Your whole day has a target. And when that thing is done, when the shoot's over, the show's over, whatever it is over and the deadline disappears, your structure starts to loosen, your body starts changing, your hunger increases, your water is all over the place, your digestion is weird, food noise is louder, everything starts to feel weird, right? And you can feel like, what the fuck is wrong with me? And what's important to realize now is that your nervous system has been running on overdrive. And one of the biggest mistakes I can see here is when girls say, I'm not even thinking about the reverse, I'm just trying to get through the show or the shoot or the diet. Because You not thinking of the reverse is you leaving all of these emotions for after the thing, and it's where it's gonna hit you, right? And you're gonna feel like you've lost a lot of direction and you've no goal and you've no purpose. And that's not what I want you to feel like, right? So do not go into this phase being like, oh yeah, I'll just figure that out when I'm done, right? Because that is not the time to wing it, right? That is the time to have a plan. It's the time to have structure. It's the time to have understanding of what you're doing, a reverse, a maintenance strategy, health markers getting back in place, get your training goals in. That's what I always like to go for, performance goals rather than like having a actual physique goal, because obviously your physique, you're going to be quite lean. You don't really want to get like, you're not going to ever want to get fat, right? We know that. But having performance goals, okay, right, what am I going to aim for in strength is going to make it a lot easier to actually consistently make progress. What we want to do is bring your body back, bring your food back, bring you back. I was going to say some names there, but bring you back. We want to bring your health back. We want to bring you able back to the person that you were a few weeks ago, right? And this doesn't mean that you need to go back to 16 weeks ago peak bulk straight away, but it means that we're reversing out so that you can achieve another goal, right? So if your coach isn't helping you with that, well, honestly, just pop me a message and I will help you, because that is where I was last year and that's not where I want. After my prep last year, I was told that I need therapy and that I need to do a diet in 8 weeks. Neither of which I needed to do or wanted to do. So yeah, if you feel that you're not being listened to or you're just being kind of thrown to the side, literally just do send me a text. That's not even a coaching plug. That's just me being a good person, I hope. But no, genuinely, because I do feel like that's a really, really hard position to be in, and it's not something that you should feel alone for. It's not something that you should feel like you're being weird for or you're fucked up for. So do pop me a message if you're confused, right? But one thing I do want you to take from this, right, is that physique development, true physique development, requires you to tolerate discomfort, right, without reacting like the fucking world depends on it, right? Without crucifying yourself. Sometimes the most high standard thing you can do for yourself is not doing more, is just doing the correct thing, right? Staying in the phase that you say you're going to do. And that can be hard as well. Dieting is not the only hard thing, right? In my opinion, building is actually a lot harder, especially if you're a coach, because trying to get clients, girl, when you're looking like fat and normal, it's quite difficult. Just be trying to be real, right? But not all hard graft looks like added cardio. Sometimes hard graft is literally just eating the food. I know. Even that's not fucking difficult, girls. You're talking about eating more. Same girls that be telling them, oh, I'm so hungry during a diet, I'm so hungry, as same ones that don't want to eat their food. It doesn't make sense to me. I'm sure it doesn't make sense to you either. But yeah, that's all I'm gonna say, right? Sometimes, actually all the time, physique development that is elite requires you to be uncomfortable at all angles. And it's the work that nobody claps for is the work that gets the best results. And the work that nobody claps for is the work that everyone is asking you, how did you get there when you do it again? And oh my God, I could never look like you. Yeah, you could never look like me because you're not willing to do what I'm willing to do. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I want to get you to, right? Your current structure might not match the body you say you want. And that is where you need to stop talking shit to yourself, stop being fluffy with yourself, and just pick your phase and make sure you know what you're fucking doing to get the results, right? Because if you want to look like you train, your training has to be structured, like it's actually doing something, right? So let's make this practical. Let's start wrapping this shit up, girl. Let's make this practical, right? Because I don't want you to listen to this and just be like, okay, cool, don't panic, I need a phase. That's fucking useless. What we need is a process. We need to make sure that you actually understand what you're doing, right? So when your body changes and you feel that panic coming on, here's what I want you to do. First of all, name what phase are you in. If you don't know already, write it down right now. What phase you're in. Ask yourself, what phase am I in? Not what phase am I emotionally wanting to be in today. What phase am I doing, right? Then 2, what's the job of this phase? Every decision you should make should match that job, right? If you are building, fucking start building. If you're dieting, make sure you're dieting. Every phase you're in should match that job, right? Ask if your behavior matches the phase. If you're building, are you eating enough, training hard enough, progressing? If you're dieting, are your weekends on track? Are you tracking accurately? Are you managing your social events? Ask if your behavior is actually doing what's required to get you to the goal that you say you want, right? Because nobody's making you do this. You're choosing it, right? Number 4, look at trends. I think that's number 4. I can never do my numbers. Look at trends. Stop looking at one day. One weigh-in is not a trend. One body picture is not a trend. One thing is not a trend. And if you are gaining as well, same thing. We're in reverse, right? Number 5, number 4, yeah, I think that's number 5. Number 5, watch your stress. That's one thing I would say. If you're thinking of going into a diet, your stress is really, really high, don't do a diet. Don't be silly. It's just not gonna work, right? If you've loads of plans on, you ain't got a diet, so don't pick it. Number 6, stay connected, girl. If you're coached, check in. If you're not coached, Check in with yourself. Nobody's saying you can't do a self-check-in at the end of the week. How'd you get on? What weight are you doing? What weight were you at last week? Take pictures for yourself. You know what I mean? You can look at them side by side as well. It doesn't need to be in a coach's eye. And finally, if you take anything from this episode, take this. Your body should not be panicking, right? Your body should have a phase. If you want a physique goal, your body should have a phase. It should not be operating in panic. In the same way you don't get any results with panicking in work, you won't get any results with panicking in the gym, right? You need to have a phase, you need to have structure, you need to have education and support, right? It needs you to stop changing the plan every single time you look in the mirror, because building an elite physique is not one big dramatic push either way. It is phases, it's the boring basics, it's doing the work, it's knowing when to push, when to pull back, it's learning your body and understanding your stress, managing your psychology and respecting your physiology, right? And it's actually just doing the shit and showing up. And I know that sounds as easy as pie, but for some reason it's not for a lot of people. So if you are one of those people and you're like, shit, I can't do the shit, and I've been reacting my way through life, and I don't understand how to build, and I don't know how to build, right? And you know that you've been winging this crap, right? And you keep changing the plan every single time your body does something that you don't like, and you know that you're not actually where you should be, right? Then that is exactly what we do inside our coaching. So we will map out your phase, we'll build your plan, we'll look at you, we'll look at your training, your food, your stress, your sleep, your digestion, everything like that, right? Your overall goal, your timeline, we will lay all that shit out for you. And if you want to see a timeline of what you want right now without the coaching, just pop me a message on Instagram, DM me phase or something like that, and I will help you map out what your goals should look like or what your timeline should look like to remove some of that stress for free, okay? But also, if you want to just be coached, if you want to cut through that noise and just be like, nah, keep it as your girl, then my coaching links are below. But otherwise, pop me a follow on Instagram, rate this 5 stars, share it to your story with your bestie, and catch me on YouTube. That is it. Peace, love, I love you. See you next week.